Hello, welcome to this session on plagiarism and, more importantly, referencing. Okay, so plagiarism is a commercial as well as an academic offence. What do we mean by plagiarism? Plagiarism is when you take someone else's work or ideas and pass them off as your own and not acknowledge the source or the author. What happens at DUT? How is plagiarism handled? Plagiarism is governed by the plagiarism policy at DUT. You can find the policy on the library website and sometimes in your study guides. If I go to the library website, library.dut.ac.za, and under the headings at the top, under policies, you can click on that and find the plagiarism policy. But more importantly, how do we avoid plagiarizing? And we avoid plagiarizing by referencing. Okay, so what is a reference and what is referencing? Referencing is the description of the item from which you've obtained your information. And referencing is a system that allows you to acknowledge the sources of information as well as ideas that you've used in your assignment. So when you use any words or ideas or information from any source in your assignment or in your research, you must reference these sources. The only time you wouldn't have to reference something is if it's in the public domain. If the newscaster said, for instance, that Cyril Ramaphosa is the president of South Africa, we probably wouldn't have to cite the newscaster because we all know who the current president of South Africa is. So why do we reference? Okay, we know we reference to avoid plagiarism, to acknowledge where we found our sources, but it's also building on the body of knowledge. All the research that's come before us has been referenced, and we're building on that body of knowledge. It also allows your supervisor or your lecturer to follow up and check that your citations are correct and that the information is correct. So what kind of referencing system do we use at DUT? We use the DUT Harvard referencing style, which is the Harvard style that has been developed and extended by DUT. And where can you get help in referencing? The library has produced a referencing guide. It's available on the library website and you can download it. There's also an online one. Let's just look where we can find it. Okay, so on the library website, under guides and tutorials, the first one there is the referencing guide, and this is the PDF version, so you can download it, save it onto your device and use it offline. And then the second option there is the e-referencing guide, which is an online guide. Okay, so how does the reference guide work? Basically, it's divided up into various material types. So for instance, if you were looking for information on how to reference a book, you would click on the book option. It's then further divided into different sort of types of books, books with one author, books with more than one author, books with editors, etc., etc. So you would select the relevant one for the material you're referencing. And this is how it's laid out. It gives you some general kind of information at the top here. It tells you what to do if there are 2 or 3 authors, and then it tells you what to do if there are 4 or more authors. On the left-hand side is the in-text format. It shows you it's the surname, the year, and the page number. And then below that, there's a couple of worked examples. And then on the right-hand side is your reference list format. And again, it gives you all the information you need for the reference list, the author's surnames, the initials, the year of publication, the title, subtitle, edition, place of publication, and publisher. And then below that, again, a couple of examples. So you can see here, if you weren't sure how the edition statement should be written, you can check in the worked example to see it's abbreviated like that. If you weren't sure about the subtitle, if you look here, you can see there's the main title, there's a colon, and then the subtitle is in lowercase and italicized as well. Okay, so when do we reference? There are two parts to referencing. There's what's known as the in-text reference, which is in the body of the text. So as you're writing your assignment or your research, your in-text reference would appear there, and it's usually the surname or surnames, the year, and the page number. Whereas your list of references comes right at the end of your project, and all the full kind of information is included in that. Okay, so let's look at our in-text citations first of all. These very seldom change. It's usually the surname of the author, the year, and the page numbers, if there are present page numbers. So you can look at this example below. It says Drury, 2018, colon 37. Okay, so surname Drury, written in 2018, and it's found on page 37. The next example is of two authors, so obviously we have to include both the surnames, so it's Smith and Peters, 2020, colon, space, 48, which is the page number. So let's have a look of the in-text in a sentence. Okay, so the first one says Gresham, and then in brackets the year, colon, space, the page number, said that precise accounting is a necessity for any business. Okay, the next example there is a direct quotation, and you'll see that we've put it in brackets. So this is exactly what Gresham said, and we put it in inverted commas, sorry, not brackets. And then at the end we say Gresham 2003, colon 25. Okay, must use quotations sparingly. Okay, remember you are writing an answer or including something in what you're writing. So you would read the information, you would put it into your own words, and you would put it into the context of what you're trying to say. Okay, so use direct quotes very sparingly. It's definitely not appropriate to just go and dump quotations into your writing. You need to process what that person has said and put it in the right context, and then put it into your writing. It doesn't actually matter where you put the citation. You could put it at the beginning of your sentence if it flows better that way, and this one says Gresham and then puts the year and the page number, or you could make your statement and then you could add your reference at the end. As I said, it doesn't really matter so long as the sentence flows well. Okay, so let's look at this example. This is an extract from a journal article written by Roberts. Okay, and you can see in his article, he is citing other people. Okay, so he's citing Snell, 2000, page 584, Janish, 1982, and Allers, 1990. So although this is his article, he is citing all the other people he's read in order to write his article. Okay, so let's move to the list of references now. So the list of references comes at the end of your assignment or your research, and the list is arranged alphabetically by the first author. Okay, so we have Allen, Mtembu, Pandor, and Thomas. Okay, the authors must remain in the format you find them in the book or in the journal. You don't swap around within the citation, but eventually they must be put in alphabetical order of the first author. Doesn't matter whether the source is a book or a journal article or a newspaper article, they all go in the same list of references and are arranged alphabetically. Okay, just a couple of general rules. If the item you're referencing doesn't have an author, you can use the term anon, which is short for anonymous. You see in this example here, anon 1990. And likewise, if there is no date or you can't find a date, you have to use the term N full stop, D full stop to show there was no date. You actually can't just omit things when you're referencing. Just because you can't find it, you can't just not include it. There are certain rules that you would have to do. However, if you were referencing something and you didn't know who the author was, or you didn't know when it was written, you have to think carefully about whether it's appropriate to include this in your research or in your list of references. It might not be appropriate if you don't know who wrote it. Okay, so the steps involved in referencing. If you were referencing a book, make sure when you're using the book that you take down the following information: the author, the year, the title and subtitle, the edition, the place of publication, and the publisher. Once you've taken down that information or saved it somewhere, you would then consult the referencing guide and put it into the correct format. In this case, it's the surname, comma, initials, full stop, the year of publication, full stop, the title. If there's a subtitle, it would be a colon and the subtitle written in italics, the edition, full stop, the place of publication, colon, and then the publisher. So if we look at the examples below here, you'll see there are 3 authors here. We have Holland, comma, B, full stop, and then we have another comma. Because we've got 3 authors, the and only goes in between the last 2 authors. So if you can imagine, if you're writing a list of things, you put commas after the list until you get to the last 2 and you include and. So here we have Holland, comma, B, full stop, comma, Smith, comma, T, full stop, and Klala, comma, T, full stop. Okay, the date of publication, and then the title, which is italicized. We capitalize only the first letter of the title unless it's a proper noun. And then the place of publication. And the place of publication is the town or the city. You don't need to put the country in there. So if it's London, England, we would say London. If it was Durban, South Africa, we would say Durban. If you look at the next example here, you can see there's the author's surname, Peterson, comma, H. It's obviously an editor. So if we look in the referencing guide, we'd have to put in the abbreviation ed and the year. And then the title here, we have a title and a subtitle. So we put the title, the colon, and the subtitle is all in lowercase and it's all italicized. Then there's our addition statement, and you can see, looking at the guide, how we write the addition statement. We abbreviate it, we write the number 3 RD, and we abbreviate it to ed, place of publication, colon, and the name of the publisher. In the first example, we didn't have an edition because quite often a book doesn't have an edition. If it's a first edition, it doesn't mention that. So you would only include the edition statement from the second edition onwards. Okay, so let's look at journal articles now. And again, if you're using a journal or journal article, if it's online, then send the information to yourself or save it somewhere, because you're going to need the author of the article, the year publication, the title of the article. Remember, the article is the bit inside. And then you also need the title of the journal, and you'll notice it's in italics. You're also going to need the volume and issue number, as well as the page numbers. In other words, the start and the end page number of the article. All right, and then you would look at the referencing guide and you follow the format in the guide to see how you would reference the journal article. So it's surname, comma, initials, same as a book, the year, same as a book. Then it's the title of the article, which is a normal case, but then the title of the journal is italicized. Okay, and then just to complicate things further, the title of the article, only the first letter is capitalized unless it's a noun, but the title of the journal, you capitalize the main words of the journal title. You would then put the volume number and the issue number in brackets, and then your start and end page numbers. So if we look at this example here, There we have the author Blacker, comma J, the year. There's the title of the article. There's the title of the journal, Management Today. And you'll see in this case, there's no volume number because the journal doesn't have a volume number. So again, you'd have to look in the reference guide and it tells you what to use if there is no volume and issue number. Okay, and then let's look at some other electronic information. If you're taking information from the internet or from a website, again, here's the format to follow. Starts off the same, author's surname, comma, initials, the year, full stop, the title, that's always going to be the same. Then you have to write the word available and then copy down the URL or the internet address. And then in brackets, you would put accessed and the day, month and year that you accessed it. Okay, so if we look at the example below here, there's the author's surname, initial, the year. This is the title of where we took the information from. We write the word available, a colon, and then you would copy and paste the URL from the website into your reference. And then lastly, in brackets, the date that you accessed it, not the date of the website, but the day that you accessed it, because remember, things on the internet don't always stay the same, they may change. So it's important to note when you accessed it. And again, if there was no author, you may have to use the term anon. However, if possible, if you've taken information from a website that has a corporate author, for instance, if you took something, say, from DUT's website or something from SAR's website, you could actually use the name of the organization as an author if there's no personal author. And this is actually more appropriate than using anon. So for instance, I can use Durban University of Technology as the author, and it's a better quality of reference than just putting anon in there, especially if the organization is reputable and a renowned organization. Okay, so how do these link up? Well, your in-text, remember, is in the body of your text. So as you're writing, you can see he was writing in his research, Phillips. Then we've put the year, colon, page number in brackets, says that, etc. And then right at the end of the assignment or the research project, in the list of references, this is where we would put in the full reference. And in this case, you can see it's surname, comma, initials, year, the title, and then it's actually a thesis. So you would look in the reference guide and see, how do I go about referencing a thesis? Okay, another example of how the how the in-text relates to the reference list. If you look at the top here, you see we've cited Phillips, we've cited Janssen, and we've cited Khadebe and Marshall. As we're writing, we're citing where we got the information from, but note in the reference list, it's then in alphabetical order, not the order that you've written it in, but in alphabetical order. So we have Janssen, Phillips, and Khadebe and Marshall. We don't swap round Marshall and Khadebe. We don't actually alphabeticize that. We take it as it appeared. This was in the newspaper, so we take it as it appeared in the newspaper, with Khadebe being the first author. And again, it doesn't matter. We've got a journal, we've got a thesis, and we've got a newspaper article. So everything in the referencing list goes together according to the author's surname. Okay, so what I need to stress with is when you're looking for information, when you're collecting the information, make sure that you take it down. If you're consulting a book, whether it's online or print book, make sure you take down all this bibliographic information while you're using the book. It's much easier to do it then than when you've returned the book or you can't find the book later and then trying to put together the information for a reference. So make sure you save it somewhere. If it's online, you save the details. If it's print, you write the details somewhere that you can, when you come to reference, you've got all the information at hand. Likewise, for a periodical, remember author's surname, initials, the year, title of the article, as well as title of the journal, the volume, issue numbers, and the start and end page number of the article. Likewise, for the internet, author, title, year, remember the URL, the web address, and if it's a really long address, well, any address, make sure you copy and paste it in so that you get the correct address in case your reader wants to follow up, or in case you want to go back to that page a bit later. Very easy to find if you've just copied the URL down somewhere. And then, of course, you're going to put the access date in, the day you accessed the information, in case it has changed by the time you're finished with your research. Okay, so again, just another little example of a reference list. You'll see it's Cronja, Denscom, and this is a corporate author, Queen Margaret University. Okay, so here's another just little example of something that's written. You can see, maybe not very clearly, but it's been written here. There's your first in-text citation, bears. Down here is Salmon and Edrisinga. Then you have Hahn, 2008, and you have Hahn, 2008, a little bit later with a new concept and a different page number. We have Lippincott, and then we have Berg et al. And then if you look in your list of references, there you find the full information. Okay, so for more help, yes, you can consult with your subject librarian. We've shown you where the reference guide is, and there's also some help on the library website. Under the subject guides, there's help there on referencing. Let's just show you. So I'm going to the library website again, and either on the quick links here to the subject research guides or under subject support, it takes me to these subject guides. So I would search for the relevant one. Let's go into this internal auditing one. So click on the link. Okay, here's the guide. There's lots of useful information here, but there's a couple of places that will give you help with referencing and plagiarism. Let's click on this one. And again, here's the referencing guide, the PDF, if you want to download it, the e-reference interactive, and there's a couple of videos here if you want to just be reminded about referencing. There's also a link to the subject librarian. If I'm available, you can have an online chat, or you can email me if you have a query regarding referencing or need some help. Okay, so let's try referencing now. Let's look at a couple of examples. I'm hoping that you've done quite a bit of referencing before now, that this is not all new to you. But perhaps at this level, it's a bit more important. And I think you'll find that your lecturers, your supervisors will be a bit more strict with referencing. And also many of you are probably going to go on and do your masters, etc. So you need to start ensuring that you're referencing everything correctly. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, if we look at this example, is decide what kind of material is this? Is it a book? Is it a journal? Is it a website? What, etc. And also to check how many authors it has. Okay, so this is fairly obviously, I think, a book with 3 authors. So what I would do next is go to the referencing guide. I'm just going to use the e-referencing guide for now, but you can consult your PDF if you like. Okay, and then I'm going to click on the link for books. And then mine had multiple authors, so I'm going to click on the link for multiple authors. And this is the format that I'm going to follow. Okay, author surname, comma, initials. I've actually got 3, so I'd have to put a comma, and then author surname, initials, etc. The year, the title, the subtitle, etc. And then again, if I'm not sure, remember, I can look at the worked example if I'm not sure, say, how I write the edition statement. Okay, so I'm just going to copy the example onto here. So this is the format I'm going to follow. So let's look. What would be the first surname? I'm going to look, here's the list here. I have William N. Lennon, Shannon W. Anderson, and Michael W. Maher. All right, so my first author is Lennon, and the initials are WN, full stop. I'm going to put a comma in because I've got 3 authors. My next author is Anderson, comma, S, full stop, W, full stop. And the third one is Maher, comma, M, full stop, W, full stop. Okay, the next thing is the year of publication, and usually it's on the title page or the reverse of the title page. I can find the year of publication. All right, so in this case, I'm going to look here. I can see there are several years. There is 2014, there is 2011, 2008, and 2006. So what year am I going to use? Well, I think the clue here is the 4th edition, so I'm going to go with 2014 because that's the latest edition. Next bit of information is the title and subtitle. If I look here, the title is Fundamentals of Cost Accounting. There's no subtitle, so I'm going to write in the title. I capitalize the F from Fundamentals and I italicize the rest of the title, but everything else is in lowercase. Okay, next bit of information is the edition, which is the 4th, and if I look at the guide, I abbreviate it to 4th ED. And then last bits of information is the place of publication and the name of the publisher. So how do I know what the place is? It tells me here, published by McGraw-Hill Irwin, 1221 Avenue of the Americas, New York, New York State. So what piece of information do I use? I use the town or the city. In this case, I would use New York. And then the name of the publisher is McGraw-Hill Irwin. And that would be my reference. Okay, so in text, remember that in text is always just going to be the surname or the surnames, the year, and then obviously the page number from where you found the information. All right, so in this case, we have 3 surnames. It's going to be Lennon, Anderson, and Maher, 2014, and I've just put down page 45. Okay, let's have another look at a book here. And again, same thing. I would go to the referencing guide. There's the format I'm going to follow at the bottom here. So the first thing is the author's surname and initials. So it's Hunter, comma, MG, and Kazakov, comma, D. The year, quite straightforwardly, is 2011. Next bit of information is the title and the subtitle. And if I look at the top here, the title would be Small Business. The subtitle would be Journey to Success. But when we're writing the title, you only capitalize the first letter of the title unless there's a proper noun in it. But so only S for small business will be capitalized, and the subtitle is in lowercase, all of it in lowercase. Okay, the edition is the 3rd edition. And then the place of publication and the publisher. So this says published by Academic Publishing, London, printed in Glasgow, Scotland. The printing doesn't make any difference. We're looking for the publishing details. So we would use London as the place of publication, and the publisher is Academic Publishing. In text, again, would be Hunter and Kazakov, the year 2011, and then you would select the page number. Okay, let's look at another example. What kind of material is this? Well, this is taken from a website. You can see the address up there. So again, I would go to the reference guide. This time I would look under other online sources. Did my source have an author? In this case it did, so I would click on Internet Sources with Author. And here is the format that you would follow. Again, the in-text on the left-hand side and the reference list format on the right-hand side. And below it, some examples if you're not sure how it should be written. Okay, so here's the format I'm going to follow. The author's surname and initials is Kronya, comma, J.B. The year in this case is 2015. And the title is the bit where we take our information from. So in this case, it's Retail Services and Small Business Development in South Africa. It's not the title of the website or the heading of something else or the page. It's the title of the bit that we take our information from. Okay, so in this case, it's Retail Services and Small Business in South Africa. The title is italicized. The R of retail is capitalized. And in this case, we capitalize South Africa because it's a noun, it's the name of a country. All right, and then we would write the word available, the colon, and the URL address. So let's do that. Available, we write the word available, and then we would copy and paste the URL and put it into the reference. Last bit of information is the day you accessed it. So we write the word, put the whole thing in brackets, write the word accessed, the number, the month, and the year. Okay, and in text, again, it's going to be the surname, the year, and the page number. In some examples, you'll notice on a website there doesn't appear a date in the article. There might be nothing there. If you look at this one, there's no date at the top. And if that happens, it's always preferable, rather than using no date, to scroll down to the bottom of the page on the website. And quite often at the bottom, you'll find a copyright date here. And it's better to use the copyright date than put in the term N.D. no date. Okay. So yeah, if you can't find it in the article, scroll down and look at the copyright date at the bottom. Likewise, if there's no page number, the reference guide allows for that, and it tells you what to do if there isn't a page number. Okay, you use the paragraph and line number, and there's an example here that shows you how you would do it, and there's the worked example there. You would put para, full stop, whichever number, 3, line 1. Sometimes your supervisor or your lecturer may allow you not to put a page number in and just leave it blank, but you need to clear that with them before you do that. Some supervisors want a paragraph and line number and a page number, and others not so much, and you need to clear that with your lecturer and supervisor. Okay, so let's look at this. This is a journal article. Sorry, it's not so clear. And again, here's the format. I went to the referencing guide, and here's the format I'm going to follow. Author's surname, initials, the year, the article title, the journal title, and the volume number, issue number, and page numbers. Okay, so there we go. The name, author's surname is Browning, initials B. The year, and I'm looking at this abbreviation at the top, is 2006. The title of the article, which is the relationship between HRM practices and service behaviour in South African service organisations. And note this time that the article title is not italicized, it's a normal font, but the journal title is italicized. So you need to consult with your referencing guide to get that correct. And you'll notice that unlike the book title, the journal title capitalizes the important words of the title. Okay, not the small words like of or the, etc., but the rest of it is capitalized and it's in italics. Okay, so after the journal title, importantly note it's a comma, and then it's going to be your volume and issue number. So the first number here is the volume number, and then in brackets, number 7 is your issue number, then the colon, and then your start and end page numbers. Okay, so remember an article might be 20 pages long. You need to note the start page as well as the end page of the entire article. And in text, same again, it's the author's surname, the year, and the page number. Okay, let's very quickly look at another article. There's the format we're going to follow again. And here's your reference. So it's Neumeier, comma C, and Spald, comma G. The year we get from the top here. The article title, which is the mobile phone and street protests, colon, texting, tweeting, tracking, and tracing. Okay, and note that the subtitle, texting, tweeting, tracking, is all in lowercase, and then the title of the journal itself is Mobile Media and Communication, okay, and then our comma, our volume number, our issue numbers, and our start and end page numbers. Okay, so I think that's all for now. Just a couple of things to remind you. Remember to collect all your bibliographic information at the time when you're reading it or saving it. Just makes it much easier at the end. Remember, there's also help on the LibGuides, the videos, etc. if you need a bit of a reminder. And also remember, I'm available if you need some help. But just please don't ask me on the day you're due to submit how to do referencing or to check your reference list when it's due in an hour. You know, I'm happy to help with that. But don't bring it to me at the last minute, then I might not be able to help you. Thank you very much. Bye for now.